Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews. All February long, we're breaking down every installment in WWE No Way Out history, and today we're talking about WWE No Way Out 2008. So what's interesting about this show is that I started watching wrestling in 2008. However, despite the almost 8 years that I've been a fan, I had never seen this show before I watched it back on the network just a week or so ago, which is crazy to think about. I know it was one of the few shows I have never seen from the year of 08. And I was just thinking about before I hit the record button, it was this show, which I've now seen. I've seen the Rumble, this show, WrestleMania, Backlash, Judgment Day. All these have been reviewed here on the channel, by the way. Judgment Day, One Night Stand, Night of Champions, Great American Bash, SummerSlam, Unforgiven. What else? No Mercy, Cyber Sunday, Survivor Series, and Armageddon, I think, after watching this show, is the only 08 pay-per-view I think I've never seen, which is interesting. But anyway, No Way Out, 2008, the final pit stop before WrestleMania 24. I'm kicking off the show for the ECW Championship, CM Punk contending for the gold against Chavo Guerrero. And Chavo Guerrero took the title from CM Punk on an episode of ECW right before the Rumble pay-per-view. The match was all right for what it was. What I thought was interesting was that the crowd sided with Chavo, not with Punk. And it's not like, it's a smarky crowd, because you would think that the smarky crowds would side with Punk and not Chavo. So that was a bit weird. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure this pay-per-view took place in Nevada and Las Vegas, and it did. So that's not too surprising. There might have been a bigger Latino fan base in Nevada than there would have been elsewhere. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not geographically smart. Anyway, but yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that the crowd was mostly on Chavo's side, which is weird because Punk was supposed to be the babyface. But aside from that, the match was pretty, paint by numbers, pretty formulaic. Chavo, in the end, I'm pretty sure he went clean to retain the ECW title, which was all well and good for Punk because he would go on to win the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania. It's not like they booked him weak here and then he would go on to win the briefcase because that was the plan the whole time. Obviously, which I've talked about here before on the show, Jeff Hardy was supposed to win the briefcase at WrestleMania, but then he fucked up, got suspended, and Punk was in the right place at the right time, and he won the briefcase instead. So anyway, moving on here to the Elimination Chamber match, the winner earning a World Heavyweight Championship opportunity at WrestleMania 24, pitting Big Daddy V against the Great Khali, MVP, Batista, Finlay, and The Undertaker. Pretty decent match, I think. The biggest problem with this match, I enjoyed the Raw one more for its star power, but star power does not always mean that it's going to be the better match. You look at the Money in the Bank ladder matches from that pay-per-view, and the SmackDown ones, despite not having the greatest star power in the world, despite not having the most star-studded ladder matches ever, were mostly better pretty much every year than the ones that were for the Raw briefcase. This one, it seemed like the Raw Chamber was better than the SmackDown one. It's not that it didn't have star power. It's just that you had the wrong people involved. And not only that, it's just that nobody had a remote chance of winning other than Taker or Batista. Big Daddy V and Khali were gone almost instantly. They were very limited and thankfully gone pretty quickly, so that was a relief. MVP and Finlay, despite not having a snowball's chance in hell, shout out to RJ, for winning this thing, I thought they had pretty good showings, especially Finlay. MVP got taken out with a chokeslam off the top of the chamber pod from Taker, so that was a pretty cool spot, and out he went. Finlay, I'm pretty sure, covered MVP after that, and then he survived a little while, hitting Batista with a shillelagh, almost eliminating him, giving people, a glimmer of hope that he was the one to get rid of Batista. Ultimately, he was not. He would get taken out by Batista, I'm pretty sure. And then it came down to Batista and Taker, which was great because they spent all of 2007 feuding over the World Heavyweight Championship, ultimately meeting back to this one point with one of them going on to WrestleMania to face Edge or whoever the world champion would be. By night's end, it was pretty obvious it would be Edge. Let's be honest here. At WrestleMania 24. So I thought that was great. The history was there. Not only that, but when Edge won the championship in the triple threat at Armageddon 2007, the other combatants were Batista and The Undertaker. So it was perfect. And those two, you don't need me to tell you, have always had amazing chemistry. This finishing sequence here was no different. The final 5 minutes or so I thought were great, especially the finishing sequence. I thought the final 20 seconds were just phenomenal. Batista had rammed Taker into the cell wall maybe twice, 3 times or so, and he was going for another time. He had Taker over his shoulder, but what Taker did, he pushed his momentum backwards, so he fell back in the ring flipping Batista over and getting him in tombstone position. The whole place erupted for that spot. It was very well constructed. Even knowing the finish of this match, I went ballistic. I thought it was awesome. Taker scored the 1-2-3 clean. New number one contender to the World Heavyweight title, setting up him and Edge for the World Championship at WrestleMania. So the whole match wasn't great, but I thought when it came down to Batista, Taker, and maybe Finlay, it was pretty darn good. After that, Ric Flair versus Mr. Kennedy in a career-threatening match where if Ric Flair lost, his career would be over. Fine match. It was a little bit better than Flair and MVP from the Rumble. You know, the ending outcome was never in doubt. No one really thought that Flair's career would end a month before WrestleMania. Let's be honest, again. But the match was good. Kennedy was always a good villain. He was a good person to sell and to take bumps for whoever he was working with. I mean, by this point, I'm pretty sure creative had figured the ship had sailed on Kennedy's main event push, but he was still, a good opponent for Flair here. And Flair said afterwards on the mic that he would never retire. Woo! So, decent match. For the World Heavyweight Championship, up next, Edge defending against Rey Mysterio. So coming into this match, Rey Mysterio had an injured arm or a torn something in his arm or a shoulder or something like that. And instead of pulling him from the match, they had the match anyway, which went all of 5 minutes. Blink and you missed it, the match was over. So, I mean, obviously the match from the Rumble was better just because it was given more time and Rey Mysterio wasn't injured. But given how limited he was here, you got to give him all the respect and the props in the world for getting through this match and really suffering from the injury for almost 5 minutes or so to put on a pretty fun match considering he was pretty much one arm throughout the entire thing. And a lot like at the Rumble, Edge hitting the spear out of nowhere to retain his World Heavyweight Championship. Out he goes. Rey Mysterio getting tended to by doctors at ringside when then out comes The Big Show, making his WWE return for the first time in I think over a year. Definitely a year, but I don't know when he left. Maybe right after the December to Dismember pay-per-view at the dawn of '07. I'm not exactly sure. But Big Show comes out looking great. He had lost a lot of weight, almost 100 pounds, I believe, in the time that he had been gone, so that was great. So he comes out cutting a promo saying how, great he feels, now that how great he looks and whatever. And then he eyes Rey Mysterio at ringside, who he felt was kind of stealing his spotlight, brought him back in the ring, and was about to chokeslam him straight to hell when Floyd Money Mayweather, who was sitting at ringside and a very good friend of Rey Mysterio was apparently, jumped the barricade feeling, that he was being offended because Big Show was kind of taunting him inside the ring, and he pushed him at ringside. He comes to the ring, and all of his posse soon follow, and right after that, Big Show kind of shoves him to the side and gets down to one knee and he goes, punch me, Floyd, punch me. And he does, boom, 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 like 4 or 3 punches and just one swoop. Again, literally blink and you missed it. I had to replay it a couple times. Big Show's nose busts open, just gushes with blood. Floyd Money Mayweather runs out of there. He fucking darts. And if you listen to Big Show's interview on Talk is Jericho, which I thought was great, by the way, I'm not the biggest Big Show fan, as you guys know, but he is a hilarious human being in real life, and that was a great interview. But he talked about with Jericho on the podcast that that was legitimate anger that he was feeling there. Like whenever he gets like legitimately hurt and he gets punched in the face, the punch in the nose, his nose was broken almost immediately. The blood rushing through, like the adrenaline pumping, essentially, that was pumping through his veins at that moment. He just went ballistic, and that's just the way that he is. Like, if he's angry like that, he'll just fucking fly off the handle, and this was no exception. He was just shoving the posse members one by one out of the way, leaped over the barricade. I don't think I've ever seen Big Show run that fast. And it was just an amazing angle. Shane McMahon reappearing and telling Big Show to slow down. Those two had in the lines, obviously, 8 years earlier at WrestleMania 2000 when Big Show represented Shane for the WrestleMania 2000 main event, but just what a hot fucking angle. You go from a World Heavyweight Championship match, which was pretty short-lived, but fun while it lasted, to this great angle that set up Floyd Money Mayweather and Big Show for WrestleMania. I mean, it was pretty apparent. I looked back at reports that Big Show was coming back to the company. No one really knew when. Some people thought it would be at the Rumble or at WrestleMania or right after WrestleMania. So that was a nice surprise that he came back on this show, and they kicked off his WrestleMania angle immediately in this angle with Floyd Money Mayweather. So I thought that was just fantastic. After that, for the WWE Championship, Randy Orton defending against the returning John Cena. Now, if you missed it, John Cena won the 2008 Royal Rumble, and what I consider the greatest Royal Rumble return of all time. I really have no doubts about that, for me anyway. Then he cashed in his main event at WrestleMania Championship opportunity in early for a shot at Randy Orton's WWE title at No Way Out instead of at WrestleMania. So the match was good. Your typical Cena-Orton match that it was kind of stally. I know that's not even a word, but when I say that, I mean they stalled a lot of rest holds. not the most exciting match, but the crowd was behind both guys, and they were into the near falls. They were engaged in the action. In the end, Orton gets himself DQ'd. Still WWE Champion. John Cena wins via disqualification, and it was a pretty shitty finish, but it was in line with what Orton's character would do. Gave Cena a need for a rematch. Although the next match would determine a number one contender to the title. So it was probably better. I mean, I thought it was kind of foolish thinking back that they didn't do Cena and Orton at Mania because that was the story that we were trying to tell. Cena got hurt at the hands of Orton in storyline when in reality, I'm pretty sure it was Mr. Kennedy that injured him in their match. But in storyline, it was Randy Orton RKOing Cena on top of the commentator's table. So thus putting Cena on the shelf for a number of months before he came back to the Rumble for almost 3 or 4 months. So it was the logical route to take, but I'm pretty happy they ended up going with Triple H, Cena, and Orton instead, just because I thought that match was a lot better. That itself wasn't a classic, but I thought it was a lot better than this bout, which was pretty good, and they booked it well in setting up Cena's need for a rematch on the grand stage. So we get to the aforementioned Elimination Chamber to determine a number one contender to the WWE title at WrestleMania 24. The combatants included JBL, Chris Jericho, Umaga, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Jeff Hardy. I believe Jeff Hardy was the IC champion at this point. A lot of great action. The eliminations were very rapid fire. Again, whenever I'm usually writing articles at the time I'm watching these shows, unless I'm I'm pretty sure either when I watched this show or No Way Out 09. It might have been No Way Out 09. I sat back, grabbed the soda, grabbed the popcorn, which is the best way to watch these pay-per-views. But when I'm fucking binge watching this shit to review it for this show, I'm usually doing something else so I can knock off 2 birds with 1 stone. But still, so I paused it and I went back 2 or 3 times to watch these eliminations because they were so rapid fire. Jericho, Umaga, and JBL were gone in a string of eliminations almost immediately, leaving Michaels, Hardy, and Triple H all in the ring together, which was great. Shawn Michaels got taken out soon enough by Triple H, so that was a bit surprising. I thought they had never really had a match against each other since their rivalry ended in 2004. But I guess this was an exception to that. This was an exception to that rule. So it comes down to Triple H and Jeff Hardy, kind of shades of the feud that they would have later on that year for the WWE Championship. Interestingly enough. A lot of great near falls. Triple H put over Jeff Hardy in a big way, but avenging his win over Jeff Hardy from Armageddon 2007 by pinning him to become the number one contender to the title at WrestleMania. So really, really good match. On the whole, this was an excellent show, a step up from the 07 installment. Set up a lot of different angles for WrestleMania 24, so it really did become evident that what we were getting at WrestleMania 24 became clear on this show with Big Show and Floyd, Money Mayweather. Cena and Orton, I mean, you kind of could tell that the feud wasn't ending there. Triple H, the new number one contender to the WWE Championship. Edge and Taker at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship, which was kind of obvious. Ric Flair's career staying intact until Mania. So a lot of great matches, a lot of great moments, especially with the Big Show Mayweather angle, which I thought was amazing and kind of stole the night. But everything else and a good crowd too made this a very enjoyable pay-per-view. So I would give it 2 thumbs up and recommend that you watch it on the WWE Network. No Way Out 2008. So before we go, guys, be sure to check out my social media links on Twitter at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.Jason.Matthews. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. And we are finishing off the series with not 1, but 2 more episodes. I mistakenly said in my 07 review that we still had 08 and 09 to go. I forgot to mention, I've already watched it, so I don't know why it slipped my mind, the 09 and 2012 shows. I forgot about the 2012 show just because it didn't happen consecutively with these other ones that I just, I've been reviewing in recent weeks. That one took place, 3 years after the pay-per-view had already kind of been done away with, and they brought it back for the June slot in 2012, and that wasn't a great show, I'll tell you right now, spoiler alert. But we will be talking about that here on the channel in the weeks to come. Then after that, to kind of answer the question what I'll be doing past No Way Out, I'll be doing... what was it? The Elimination Chamber pay-per-views from 2010 to 2015. I'll be covering all those shows on the road to WrestleMania, then covering post-WrestleMania Raws. I rarely do Raws, but I will be making an exception for I think it's WrestleMania week right after WrestleMania that I'll be covering those, so be on the lookout for those. And also WrestleMania 31, that will drop on the anniversary of WrestleMania 31 on March 29th. So look out for all those videos in the many months to come. I already have all the videos planned out through the fucking summer, so we're pretty much all set. But anyway, guys, until next time, I'm Graham Jason Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.